Hi everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. How are you today? It is Friday, June 13th, Friday the 13th, 2014. All right, people, I'm going to cover a few things today in this video. One specifically that I really want you all to pay attention to and, try to get the word out there because there is one metric, and I've talked about this before many, many times over the past several years, where you can gauge that this entire nonsense of an economic recovery is a farce. It's just so simple, and they use every distraction possible to not let you look in this direction. And we're going to talk about that because it's just so important here. So, what's going on? Several things actually. Today, all of the major indices did put on some gains here. Nothing dramatic. This really isn't so much of a surprise here in the face of what has happened over the past several trading days. I think we had 3 down days here. So you would expect a bounce here. And I'm not saying that we're not going to recover. I believe we are. I think the market is going to recover all of the losses that we've sustained over the past week here. Beyond any doubt. Again, check my site, traderschoice.net. I am long 3 positions there. I think they have a high probability of moving much higher with the overall market. And I believe, again, and it's something I've been talking about for a very, very long time, that the world central banks are going to do everything they can and things that we haven't even thought about, people, to keep this propped up. It's their main objective is to prop up the stock market, and I've gone over why. It's nothing more than a backdoor bailout for Wall Street at the expense of everyone else. So today we got some more economic news. Not so good here. We found out, and this is kind of funny, really. If you watch the financial channels like I do, or you go anywhere on the web, they use the same terminology, and that is this. We found out that consumer confidence unexpectedly fell. Unexpectedly. It's always unexpected. Are they insane? Really. I was going over a lot of the insanity in yesterday's video when I was talking about, well, watch that video and you'll see what I'm talking about here. But let's just name a few things here that are just so obvious and so, again, in our faces, and how consumer confidence can fall unexpectedly. Actually, it plummeted to a 3-month low. Should be no shock and no surprise to these people. But again, they have to play this up and it has to be spun in every way humanly possible. No, the number one reason I think why consumer confidence is low is this inflation. There's no doubt that we are seeing massive food and energy inflation, unaffordable housing, a labor force participation rate at a 35-year low. The prospects for any real gainful employment are just disgusting. We have negative interest rates here in our country. People don't understand this, but it's absolutely true. If you have an interest earning account, you're being paid interest less than the actual rate of inflation, so you're being robbed. Again, this is part of the Federal Reserve's manipulation of interest rates. They're robbing everyone else. Again, and making the upper tiers of society much, much richer. It's a very scary and dastardly mechanism. And again, the dumbed down public just simply doesn't get it. And again, this is going to go back to the one metric that, again, I have spoken about many, many times. And some of you out there probably know where I'm leading already. And that is this. And please, just go to Google and put in money velocity. Okay. In fact, I'm going to make it easier for you than that. I'm going to put a link right down here in the description of this video. And if you can understand this one concept, you can clearly make sense of what is going on here. We found out this month that the velocity of money is at an all-time historic low. For those of you out there that want a very simple explanation for what the money velocity is, well, here it comes. The velocity of money is a measure of how fast, or the rate at which cash is changing hands in an economy. Very simple concept. Without cash changing hands in the economy, you're going nowhere. This is an absolute fact. You have to have cash moving around in an economy for there to be any economic growth. So again, we are at historic lows here. Please check that article right down here. So this one metric just literally flies in the face of all the nonsense that they're trying to force feed us about an economic recovery. There is zero. Let me put another perspective on this for you. Okay, we understand, and this is a fact, this is not speculation, that the money velocity is at historic lows. We also know this, and this is a fact, that the Federal Reserve keeps printing this cash out of thin air, these fiat bills, and flooding them all over the world at record paces. Does it make sense to any of you out there that in an environment where the demand for these bills is at an all-time historic low, the Federal Reserve keeps printing them out of thin air? Again, it should make absolute complete sense to you. This is completely opposite of what really should be going on. If the demand for something is diminishing, you don't want to be adding to it. You got it? We also understand this, again, very easily researchable. The demand for US dollars, as the world reserve, is falling off of a cliff. So again, we have money velocity here at historic lows. We have countries of the world backing away from the US dollar, diminishing the demand for these bills, and yet the Federal Reserve keeps printing them. That goes back to something I spoke about in yesterday's video, where I really tore up President Obama here. Now, he's promising to do whatever he can now to get in here in Iraq, except for putting boots in the ground. But he's talking about airstrikes. Why are they doing this? Again, this goes back, people, to another concept that is so basic but so important to understand, and that is this, and I've spoken about this for years now. We have an economic model that is based upon the relentless acquisition of debt in perpetuity. It can't stop. That's why the Fed keeps printing these bills in an environment where they're not needed, where the US dollar is clearly losing its reserve status. So this cash has to be spent in some way. And the best way to do that, the most expensive way to do this, is to propagate war. Why do you think it is? I mean, seriously, this is another easily researchable topic, that the United States has been involved in more military conflicts than every single other developed nation combined, multiple fold. Very simple, because the cash needs to be borrowed into existence and then dispersed. And the US dollar is still the world's reserve. That's why this is a priority at this point. So we're really stuck at a weird paradox, and I really want you to understand what I'm talking about with regard to the money velocity, regard to these bills losing its reserve status, the US dollar, and meanwhile the Fed keeps printing and printing and printing, and why they're trying to force feed us all this nonsense about there not being inflation. Are they absolutely insane? I was watching CNBC maybe last week at one point, maybe even this week, I don't remember, and an individual said, how the Federal Reserve does not count food inflation and energy inflation in their metric to measure inflation. It's like living without breathing. It's an amazing concept, but it's absolutely true. Again, it's all part of the farce, all part of the illusion here. And let me just go back to this real quick. The action by the European Central Bank recently really tells us all how desperate they are to keep it propped up, and how we have to be very, very close to the system literally coming down. And it's all about the debt bubble, people. And please understand this. It's not just a financial issue, and it's going to affect you directly. It's about resources. We've borrowed cash, monies from the future to live a better now, hyperinflating this issue in debt. The debt bubble will burst. We know this for a fact. It's a mathematical certainty. And how do we know this? Again, people do a little bit of research. I urge all of you to do this. Look at every single financial and economic bubble in history. They all burst. Why? Another very simple concept I've been talking about for years. Because these bubbles rise above a level that can be sustained by any means. By any means. So at one point, I mean, all they're doing now by fueling this bubble in debt, by flooding the world with these bills, which are no more than units of debt. Okay, they're not units of wealth. We have a debt-based economic model that demands cash be borrowed into existence. Remember that. Once that bubble bursts, it means that resources will not be available to people, and the value of the fiat currency backed by nothing is going to dissolve into thin air. So whatever cash you think you have laying around won't buy you a thing. This is where we're going. The Federal Reserve knows this. Trust me. They understand the concept of a debt-based economic model. The concept of money velocity being at historic all-time lows. Meanwhile, they keep printing and printing and printing. It's a situation that cannot be stopped. We have hit a critical mass, people. There's no way out. No way out to stop what is coming here. And that is an absolute pan-global economic collapse. There's no way out. If you just put these concepts together and understand, it's very simple to just get a grip on what's going on here. Anyway, people, I think this video is really important. If you agree with me, please do me a couple of favors. Share this video with as many people as you can. Give me a thumbs up here. It's just so important. We need to get more people to understand these concepts. Again, money velocity is huge. And again, when you hear a politician or one of the talking heads on the financial channels talking about an economic recovery and how everything is looking really rosy, if you have an opportunity to confront that person, ask them about the money velocity. They won't be able to answer you, because you cannot have economic growth or expansion without money velocity. I can't stress this enough. Anyway, people, it is Friday, like I said earlier, Friday the 13th. I will not see all of you until Monday. Please have a happy and safe weekend. Take it easy.